Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give our praises to Yahweh, by Yahawashi, by Kakadash. Double honors to the Apostle Great Millstone, Tumblers, Truth, and Prevail. Peace, blessings, attention, I come out there. Scatter ball to the four corners of earth. That's serving the truth out of sincerity. To I say Shalom. That's a brother Bala continue the video in the spirit. And the top of this video is going to be about these nations will not prevail against Yahawashi and Yahawashi. You know, and just another video. You know, I was meditating about the movie The War of the Worlds, and you know, in that movie, you know, like they did in this last one, you know, because it's a remake. You know, in the end, they show, you know, basically them getting the victory, you know, over, you know, what they call aliens to UFOs. You know, they show them getting the victory, but us, we know that that's not how it's gonna play out. You know, that's what Esau hopes is gonna happen. Yeah, they're gonna be able to prevail against Yahawashi and Yahawashi. And then, you know, even also in the movie, it showed that all the nations came together, you know, to fight against, you know, the UFOs, which they're gonna do. You know, that lines up with biblical prophecy. You know, when Yahawashi and Yahawashi, you know, gathers all the nations, you know, in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which is Yahweh's judgment, over there in the Middle East to fight the World War III, Yahawashi is going to intervene. And when he intervenes, all the nations are going to stop fighting each other and turn to fight Yahawashi. And that's what's going to make the story so much great, because it's not just going to be Yahawashi against Esau, which we know that's the main fight, but all these other nations are going to get into alliance with each other to fight against Yahawashi, and then Yahawashi is going to overthrow them all. So I'm going to grab this. This is 2 Ezra 13:3. It says, "And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with thousands of heaven, and when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him." It says, yeah, it waxed strong with thousands of heaven. Yahawashi is coming with the innumerable multitude of chariots, man. You know, that's what the UFOs are, the UFPs that Esau likes to call them. Those are the chariots of Yahawashi and Yahawashi, and what resides in those chariots are the angels of Yahawashi and Yahawashi. It says all things tremble that were seen under him. So when Yahawashi returns, everyone's going to be trembling, man. They're going to be afraid, because Yahawashi is coming with that great fathership. Verse 4, it says that whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth filleth when it filleth the fire. And that it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. Yeah, that's these other nations, man. They're going to gather themselves together. It says, but behold, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. That's talking about the chariot, the great big UFO ship that Yahawashi is going to be in. It says, but I would have seen the region or place wherefore the hill was graven, I could not. And Ezra is saying that he couldn't see the end of it. He couldn't measure how big it was. That's why he says as a great mountain, as a great hill. You know, it was so big that he couldn't see, you know, where his ending was. And verse 8 says, and after this, behold, and lo, all they which were gathered together to do him were sore afraid, and yes, there's fight. Yeah, because when all these other nations see Yahawashi return, they're going to be afraid, because they're not going to know what's happening. Okay, they're going to see a big, great fathership enter into the atmosphere with his host of chariots, and that they've never encountered or seen before. Now, mind you, there has been chariot sightings, like it, you know, but the magnitude that Yahawashi and Yahawashi is going to return with is going to be something that we have never seen before. It's going to scare everybody. But it said, yes, that there's fight, because Yahweh is going to put in their spirit to fight, man. He's going to put in their spirit to fight against Yahawashi, you know. So Yahawashi and Yahawashi can be glorified when he takes them down, because he's going to do it in a very miraculous way, you know. Verse 9, it says, and lo, as he saw the as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. So Yahawashi is not going to have no instruments of war, man. He's not going to have you know how Esau has their ballistic missiles and their tanks to shoot out, you know, bombs and all that stuff. He's not going to have the technology that he has. He has his own technology. He has his own weapons of war. And what is that going to be? I'm going to continue to read. It says, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And that's talking about the laser beams from the chariots, man. That's Yahawashi's instrument of war, man. He's going to use the laser beam from the chariots. That's how he's going to fight against E. And them lasers are going to zap everything into dust. You know, it's going to destroy everything just like that. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be done in a miraculous way, because we've never seen nothing like that. Yeah, we've seen movies and they have gave their, you know, perspective, you know, and, you know, put that little twist and spin on it, you know, gave us something to imagine about. When we do see it, it's still not going to live up to what we've seen in the movies, man. It's going to be even greater when we see the true power of Yahawashi. And verse 11 says, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Yeah. And that's what's going to happen, man. Yahawashi is going to destroy everything, man. All these nations, you know. Like it says, I'm going to beat your spears and the plowshares, you know. The Lord is going to destroy all of E's and all these other nations' weapons of war, man. They're not going to have those anymore when Yahawashi returns. And he's going to do a lot of killing too. The scriptures say the slain of the Lord shall be many. It's going to be a lot of death that happens when Yahawashi returns on the scene. Well, going back to the point that these nations are not going to be able to prevail against Yahawashi. So let me grab this. This is 1 Corinthians 15 and 24. It says, then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to Yahweh, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power. For he must reign till he have put all enemies under his foot. So Yahawashi is going to put all the nations under his feet, man. And he's not going to stop. He's not going to stop reigning until that happens, man. And when is that going to be fulfilled? Yes, when Yahawashi returns and he you know, shows his power, you know, in World War III, when he's out here destroying their military vehicles, their jets and all of that, and having a lot of dead bodies out here. But Yahawashi also going to beam up his elect, man. Where he's going to beam up into that great fathership, into that chariot, and then he's going to allow us to come back. He's going to allow us to come back and what? And go and finish gathering, man. Finish gathering these elites, man, that are going to be hiding in their bunkers, man, that think that they have escaped the judgment. We're going to go gather them, as well as these other nations, because when Yahawashi returns, America is going to be destroyed, and the land of Israel is going to be destroyed, man. But Israel is going to be built back up, and who's going to build it back up? Esau and Edom, as well as the other nations. Well, then we're going to enslave them. So we have to go around and conquer. You know, we have to go around and gather them all up, man. That's when it's going to be fulfilled. When he had put all enemies under his foot. When he have went out here and we have captured Esau as well as these other nations to be our captives, man. That's when Yahawashi is going to receive the full victory. When there's going to be no more adversaries out here, no one to be able to come up against us, man, and they're going to all have to serve us. That's the start of the kingdom. So I'm gonna grab this. Revelations 17 and 14. It says, "These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and Kings of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful." Yeah. So that's the end all be all, man. They're gonna make war with Yahawashi, but Yahawashi is gonna overcome them because what? He's the Lord of lords. He's the Kings of kings, man. There's nothing that can war with him, nothing that can war against him, nothing that can overcome him, man. Because Yahawashi, when he was here, what did he get? He got the victory. What did he overcome? He overcame death. Now what? He's alive in the spiritual world with a perfect body, with spiritual powers, with power that cannot be messed with. And he's gonna come back and show that power, man. So that's what we're patiently waiting on. But that's gonna be the end all be all, man. Yahawashi getting the victory. And there's nothing that these nations gonna do about it. None of these little weak movies or shows or whatever it is they put out to give them some type of hope. None of the technology that they're going to create, war vehicles, nothing that Esau does is going to be able to war against Yahawashi and Yahawashi. The end of the story is Yahawashi returning, defeating his enemies and putting all enemies under his foot and establishing the kingdom on earth. So that's pretty much it. Lord, when this video is edifying, I'm going to close off by giving our praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahawashi, Ba'ashem Kakadash, Shalom.